So in today's video, I'm going to be going over all the major deaths in Chainsaw Man. Also, real quick disclaimer, right now I'm recording this in June, so just in terms of consistency throughout the video, whether it be my voice or whatever, just keep in mind that this video was started a while back. Also, if you don't want any spoilers for Chainsaw Man, you might want to click off the video, like right now. But with that being said, I'll be going over all the major deaths that take place within the Chainsaw Man world, and I guess I'll throw in a little ranking on each of them after I finish talking about them. But you'll probably be seeing this video go live a little over halfway through the first season, when you know what happens, but let's get right into the video. So the first major death that takes place within the series is Denji's initial death that starts the entire story of Chainsaw Man. After Denji gets tricked and killed by the Yakuza who unintentionally sold their souls to the zombie devil, Pochita, Denji's chainsaw dog devil companion, makes a contract with him, resulting in Denji getting another chance at life in exchange for showing Pochita his dreams. Pochita sacrificed himself for Denji by becoming his heart, and honestly, even though all of this took place within the first chapter, it's still pretty sad after we learn of the troubles Denji faces in his life at such a young age, and the fact his one companion who was with him through thick and thin is no longer with him in the physical sense. But for a death taking place at the start of the series, I'd give it like a 5 out of 10. Next, we have the death of the Eternity Devil in the series. Honestly, the death of the Eternity Devil doesn't really have an insane amount of repercussions or value because it was literally only present for a few chapters of Chainsaw Man, and it doesn't even serve as a big bad villain within the series. However, during this arc, the Eternity Devil fight was used to form a relationship between our Special Division 4 members for the first time, as well as expanding the plot with the Gun Devil and the Gun Devil flesh pieces, in which one was collected after the Eternity Devil's cowardly death. We also learn of the Devil's targeting of Denji for his chainsaw heart, so even though there's no real attachment to the Eternity Devil, it did serve to push the narrative of the whole story forward to a degree, so I'm just going to include it here. And out of 10, I give this death like a 3 out of 10. Actually no, a 4 out of 10. Seeing Denji torture the Eternity Devil, who is literally a representation of eternity within the devil, into giving up his heart so it could die because it couldn't take the pain anymore, was really awesome to see. And it showed how crazy Denji can get, so I definitely enjoyed that for sure. The next death we have is definitely one of the saddest deaths we have in the series to date, and it's Himeno's death, which comes about after she sacrifices herself to protect her squad against the threat of Katana Man and Akane Sawatari. The whole development that leads up to her death is just so messed up, because chapters before we were only just getting to know her and learning more about her as a character, quirks and all, and after a mishap with Denji, which eventually led to the two forming a genuine friendship, to see her die so soon was honestly heartbreaking. I remember the first time I read Chainsaw Man, I was so pissed off because she was definitely my favourite female character in the series at that point in the story. Her design and Ghost Devil powers were honestly so cool to me, and I'll never forgive you Fujimoto for taking her away from us so early. The unexpected gunfire from Katana Man upon our squad and the realization someone was definitely going to die due to the pure hopelessness of the situation definitely made things hit hard, and this death was definitely a huge turning point in Chainsaw Man. And Himeno's sacrifice to the Ghost Devil and her words of wanting Aki to cry when she dies is just too sad. Out of 10 for this specific death, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It was the death of one of our main cast and the effect it had on the other members, alongside us already knowing days before that Himeno wanted to quit public safety and go to the private sector with Aki because obviously she had feelings for him, made things all the more tragic. Next, we have the death of Hirokazu Arai. Honestly, I think I can speak for everyone that Arai was probably the least liked character within our initial Special Division 4 squad. Sorry to break it to that one Arai superfan out there, but he's a cool guy. I can say he was for sure a good person and he died saving Kobeni, so honestly he's a true hero in that aspect of giving his life up for someone else. The only problem was that so much was going on during his death that we didn't really get to take it in, outside of the moment when Kobeni was breaking down on the ground saying she can't take it anymore because of how messed up the job has been. We had Himeno's death moments before, and obviously Kobeni's insane moment against Katana Man and Akane Sawatari, so you know it honestly just got overshadowed, which is why I give it like a 3 out of 10. And again, Arai was a cool guy, but honestly he's forgettable and didn't have too much time to make an impact within the series. Next, we have the death of Reze, and I know she came back, she's a hybrid, they always come back, but at the time we didn't expect her to return in the final arc since you know she's an enemy. I personally thought they'd dispose of her in a way she'd never be able to be brought back, or if it was just a thing where they'd never be able to find her corpse. But honestly, Reze was a really likable character. Despite the fact that she would turn against Denji, I like to think that there was some truth in her words, and the way she even helped him out a little, you can't say she had no feelings for this man whatsoever. It was one of those I wish we met under different circumstances type of situations. Before she would inevitably be killed by Makima and Angel, seeing her flee and then miss her train at the last minute with what I like to think was the intention to meet up with Denji, or at least to watch from afar before she left for good, and also hearing the story from Kishibe about the guinea pigs in the Soviet Union which Reze was a part of, makes her death hit home for me. Again, it was one of those I wish we met a different way type of situations, and she isn't an inherently bad person, her situation was just unfortunate. And this was further confirmed when she's cornered and killed by Makima and Angel, and her last words are, "Denji, truth is I've never gone to school either." She was living a life that was manufactured for her, and with that it's hard to not feel sympathetic towards her, even though she's done a lot of bad. So for this death, I definitely give it a 7 out of 10, even though it wasn't permanent. And just to go off topic a little, Fujimoto, please bring her back in part 2, man. We are literally waiting. And just to deviate one more time, no, I'm not doing a whole part on this bum-ass assassin from America's death, because I know there's going to be at least a couple of you guys on my head in the comments that I missed this death out with Kobeni's car. I mentioned it a little, so spare me. And also, I'm not mentioning Quan Chi cleaning up house either. But anyway, next we have all the people who were victim to the Darkness Devil's attack, rest their souls. This man literally violated all these high-level devil hunters and devils in the blink of an eye. It had Pinksy ready to kill herself just on his arrival, and all the fiends scared for their lives. Honestly, this whole encounter was just frightening. It killed Toka, also known as the Doll Devil, Kusakabe and the Stone Devil, Beam, which was definitely hard to watch since Beam was such a likable character and was insanely loyal to Denji, Quan Chi, her fiends and the Violence Fiend. It literally killed everyone except Power, Aki, Kobeni and Angel, and of course Makima, who had to come and save them. It was absolutely insane. All in all, we lost some important characters here, and just from how tense and desperate this situation was, I'll give it like an 8 out of 10. Next we have all the victims of the Gun Devil, and honestly, what can I say, to this day this is one of the most darkest chapters within the Chainsaw Man manga. The Gun Devil's descent and disaster that befell Japan in his journey towards Makima was portrayed insanely well. Normally when there are mass murders in anime or manga that come about from the civilian population, it can be underwhelming due to the fact we have no attachment to them, but the Gun Devil's attack was the opposite. Seeing the sheer despair and unexpectedness of his attack, accompanied by the names of his victims in rapid succession, made these deaths actually have some value, even if only for a few chapters. And of course there were some names that we recognize within that list as well that made things even worse. As a result of this, I'll give the deaths that came about due to the Gun Devil's attack an 8.5 out of 10. It was honestly something I'd never seen before and was an insane reading experience. Next we have the death of Aki Hayakawa, who is a big favourite within the series and is part of our main trio. And I'm just going to say it straight up, this was definitely the saddest death in the series for me personally. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Outside of Aki being my favourite character, seeing the conclusion to his character arc and how much he had changed since the beginning of the series, from being public safety's #1 devil hater to caring for both Power and Denji as an older brother figure, this was definitely a hard pill to swallow with Aki's death. Outside of his initial death as a human, since we know he was killed by the Gun Devil as seen by his abilities being used post-mortem and his name appearing on the massive list of Gun Devil victims, Fujimoto decided to make us as viewers suffer even more by having the Gun Devil, the same devil responsible for killing Aki's family, the same devil that Aki dedicated his life to killing, take over Aki's body, resulting in him becoming the Gun Fiend. And then the Gun Fiend ended up attacking the two Aki held most dear, being Power and Denji. So the chapters that all of this took place in was just a section of pure sadness within the manga. I remember initially reading it like, there's no way, man, like how twisted do you actually have to be to even do this? And in addition to this, we got the snowball fight as representation of Aki's presence within the battle between the Gun Fiend and Chainsaw Man, which definitely just made it even harder to come to terms with. Then after all is said and done, we see the future devil laughing in the distance as he finally reveals Aki's deadly fate he saw a long time ago, which was Aki dying for the Chainsaw Boy as he laughs menacingly. And again, this was just insanely sad to see. However, Aki's death was handled really well, it was very tragic, and Fujimoto definitely executed when it came to this, so I give it a 10 out of 10. Next we have the death of Power within the series, and again, just like Aki's death, here we lose another member of our main Chainsaw Man trio. Power's death comes about by the hands of Makima at the height of her manipulation of Denji. While Denji was distraught over the death of Aki, Makima used this to further increase her control over him due to how vulnerable he was at the time. And she wasted no time in further strengthening her hold on Denji by calling over Power, who was ready to celebrate Denji's 17th birthday, and murdering her in cold blood. It was completely messed up. However, after Power's brief resurrection in which she saved Denji, I think that was where her death really made an impact for me, not only because she saved our protagonist, but seeing how lost Denji was without her. Initially when she was killed by Makima, it was like Denji couldn't believe it was real, but the one-on-one with Power and Denji in the dumpster really gave clarification to the relationship the two had. And it was a beautiful thing to see, especially again when comparing how they were at the beginning of the series to this point. But I'll definitely give this death a 9.5 out of 10. It was a very good one for sure. Now, last but not least, we have the final death that takes place in Chainsaw Man Part 1, which is during the Denji vs Special Division 5 and Makima battle. After Denji easily disposes of the weapon humans and the rest of Makima's lackeys, he ends up in a 1v1 with Makima, in which he manages to get the drop on her despite being dominated for the majority of the battle. And this death is honestly such a weird situation because Denji was able to kill someone who was unkillable, and because of this it was a very unorthodox conclusion. I think the usage of Power's blood to prevent regeneration was a nice touch, but you know, just the uncertainty of Denji putting Makima away for good by eating her to become one with her, and that being the only way to kill her, kinda made me feel a little bit of a way. However, with this being the conclusion to part 1 and the character of Makima, this still hit regardless. And Denji's desire not to harm her despite her manufacturing his life and tearing it down really highlights his innocence and empathy. And of course this ended with the resurrection of the control devil being Nayata, so all in all I'll give this death an 8.5. It was a big one and it just closed the curtain on everything in part 1, so I really couldn't give it anything less than this. But with that being said, we come to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more Chainsaw Man content. And I guess let me know what your thoughts on the video are down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.